Welcome back to The Explainer. So, what if the greatest threat to our existence wasn't a weapon at all, but an idea? A contagious, soul crushing idea? Today, we're breaking down the philosophy of viral nihilism and how it can be weaponized to challenge our very will to survive.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a question that gets to the absolute heart of all this. Seriously, think about it. To become something new, what do you have to destroy first? Every single act of creation, whether it's building a new you or a new world, means something old has to go. And that tension right there between creation and destruction, that's our starting point. To really get a handle on this cosmic threat, we're going to need a philosophical toolkit. And for that, we're turning to Friedrich Nietzsche, a guy who was, you could say, a little obsessed with the idea of transformation, or what he called self-overcoming. So Nietzsche gave us these two killer concepts that are totally linked. On one hand, you have overgoing, or Übergang. That's the goal, right? It's the journey of always growing, of becoming more than you are. But, and this is the important part, to get there, you have to pay a price. And that price is undergoing, or Untergang. Now, this isn't failure, not at all. It's the deliberate, often painful process of tearing down your old self to make room for the new one. And that's the whole point, right there. They're two sides of the exact same coin. You simply can't get to that higher state of being without the messy, difficult, sometimes brutal work of dismantling who you are now. Transformation demands sacrifice. That's just the rule. So, what happens when you take this philosophy and you push it to its most extreme, terrifying, and literal conclusion? Well, let's take a look at a being from the source material known as the Iron Queen, who is a perfect, and I mean perfectly malicious example of this process. The Iron Queen is a walking, talking nightmare of this philosophy in action. See, she's not one single being. She's forged from three legendary figures. The demon Mephistopheles gives her the heart, her literal power source. The dragon Maleficent provides the form, her physical body. And the crone Baba Yaga brings the brains. And, a city-sized mortar to get around in. Each one was completely destroyed to create something so much worse. And how she was made? It was a brutally literal downgoing, a ritual they called the spinning of the void. Step 1, the grind. They were physically deconstructed, just ground into raw materials. Step 2, the weave, a grotesque sewing project, stitching dragon flesh to crone bones with threads of pure hellfire. And finally, step 3, the ignition, an internal explosion that didn't destroy them, but fused them into something new, something terrible. So the Iron Queen chose this path, right? It was a willed transformation to get more power. But this brings up a pretty terrifying question. What happens when that same process, that violent downgoing, isn't a choice? What happens when it's forced on an entire species as the ultimate test of survival? And this leads us to what our source material calls a metaphysical wager. This isn't a war for planets or power. No, this is a high-stakes bet for the very meaning of existence itself. And humanity? What's on the table? On one side of the wager, you've got the Woden archetype. This is the symbol for humanity's potential, our drive to grow, to overcome any limit, to scream yes to our own existence. And on the other side, you have Darkseid. He's the embodiment of the exact opposite, a philosophy of viral nihilism. It's all about erasing free will and proving that life is utterly meaningless. So, you see, this whole conflict is actually a test. It's asking a huge question. When humanity is pushed to the absolute edge by a horror that wants to wipe us from existence, can we go through the ultimate downgoing to achieve an evolutionary overgoing? Can we become something more, just to survive? And that brings us to the real core of today's explainer. The weapon Darkseid uses to fight this war isn't an army. Not at first, anyway. His weapon is an idea. It's nihilism made into a sound. It's called viral nihilism, and it is engineered to be the perfect counterattack to our drive to become more. It doesn't just want to beat you, it wants to prove to you that your will, your identity, your very existence has no meaning. It is weaponized nothingness. The invasion doesn't start with explosions, it starts with a whisper. A subtle psychological assault known as the anti-life signal, or more simply, the hum. This is the first stage of the infection, the virus trying to find a host. The hum is just insidious. It works by making a population turn on itself. It gets inside your head, and it just cranks up the volume on every negative thought you've ever had: despair, alienation, paranoia, until your very will to live starts to flake away. It basically gets humanity to do the dirty work for it, dismantling society from the inside. And this whole invasion is brilliantly staged, in a truly awful way. The psychological attack is just the start. Tier 1 sends in infiltrators, doppelgangers, and shadow people to ramp up the paranoia from the hum. It's only after society is already eating itself alive that the physical armies from this dead graveyard universe finally show up to finish the job. So let's connect all the dots. We have this philosophy of transformation through sacrifice, and we have a cosmic threat perfectly designed to force that transformation on all of us, all at once. This is humanity's final exam.
And here it is, the final side-by-side. The Iron Queen's transformation was willed. She chose that violent downgoing to become something stronger. But viral nihilism forces that downgoing onto humanity. It's not a choice. It's a violent cosmic test to see if we can evolve when faced with total annihilation.
Which leaves us with one last, really chilling question. To pass this test, to overcome this ultimate threat, humanity would have to become something else. Something maybe unrecognizable. So if that's what it costs to survive, is it a price worth paying?